It doesn't matter if Emily Compagno was arguing about the law, being a Raiderette, or making waves on Fox News with her controversial opinions. She has always been a force, but things have changed recently, and everyone is talking about it. There have been rumors about her personal life and job changes, and now people are really interested in her. Has she changed herself on purpose, or is there more to the story? No matter what, everyone is interested in how she has changed. What's all the fuss really about? Let's get started. Even when she was busy with law and dancing for the Oakland Raiders, Emily Compagno always had her eyes on TV. She knew she wanted to be breaking down law problems for people across the country, and she did it. There is a place where you need to go back to really understand Emily Compagno. She grew up in the Bay Area with her parents and two sisters. Discipline and service were important in their home. Her dad was a captain in the U.S. Navy and a pathologist at the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. He had a very structured home. Not only were chores expected, they were also just how life was. It wasn't a nice to have a clean room, it was a must. Veterans' rights became important to her, because many people in her family had served in the military. But little Emily was on stage before all the court cases and TV shows. She began dancing ballet when she was only 3 years old, and did shows in schools, nursing homes, and every year in the Nutcracker. She went to the University of Washington to study political science and then the University of San Francisco School of Law to get her JD. Her goal at one point was to become a fighter pilot, which was very different from what it is now. She gave it her all and went to Space Camp Aviation Challenge, and even the summer science conference at the Air Force Academy. But the Air Force always told her she wasn't small enough to qualify no matter how driven she was, but that didn't stop her from trying. Even though the chances were against her, she joined the USAFROTC at the University of Washington, but after 2 years she still got the same answer. She had a big impact even though she couldn't become a jet pilot. She got the U.S. She later stood out in law school as president of the Federalist Society and articles editor of the Intellectual Property Law Bulletin. She won the U.S. Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps Cadet of the Quarter Award. She learned more than just what she learned in school. She sailed to 13 countries and saw directly how problems affect people around the world. She got right to work after law school. She was a government managing attorney, an assistant head at the Social Security Administration, and a lawyer in her own right. She worked hard at becoming a lawyer, but she still found time to do something she loved: watching the Raiders. People who watched football when the Raiders were still in Oakland may remember seeing her on the bench in the late 2000s. That being said, she didn't even try out to be a Raiderette until she was a lawyer. Cheerleading wasn't a full-time job, but it took a lot of time and effort. She also kept her two lives separate. When her co-workers learned she was a Raiderette, they were shocked. Football fans were also shocked to learn she was a lawyer. But don't get it wrong, she wasn't after the money. She had always wanted to cheer for the Raiders because it would let her mix her love of dance and performance with her job as a lawyer. She was dedicated because she loved what she did, and that led her to become squad captain before she finished her time as a Raiderette. There were even more doors open for me when I was an NFL cheerleader. She was picked to be an NFL ambassador and went to China to support the league. In 2009, she was one of 5 cheerleaders chosen to visit the USS. There are troops in the Middle East. She went to Kuwait and Iraq for 2 weeks to give soldiers who were far away a piece of home. She will always remember that trip. She saw for herself how young and alone the troops were, and how many of them had joined because they had to, not because they wanted to. Some of them came from hard places and didn't have many choices besides joining the army. But for those 2 weeks, she and the other cheerleaders gave them something different: a break, a link to home, and a message that they weren't forgotten. Emily Compagno is always on TV, but she keeps her private life very private. She didn't use any social media at all for a long time. She still won't go on Facebook, even though she joined Instagram. People won't be able to find out much about her unless she puts it out there herself. This is especially true when it comes to her interactions. But this is what is known. Emily Compagno married Pete Riley in 2017. Riley is a real estate agent and buyer with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Northwest Real Estate in Vancouver, Washington. Riley's job takes him to the Pacific Northwest, but there are strong signs that he has ties to California. He has known Compagno since they were teenagers and has a long past with her, since she was born and raised in California. That's probably where they met for the first time. But they didn't fall in love when they were kids. It took years for fate to step in. Based on the USS Sun, they met again by accident when they ran into each other on a Seattle path. After that, something seemed to click. They went all out when it was time to make things official. The Sun says that the couple got married at the Hotel Villa Simbron on the Amalfi Coast in Italy. There were only the two of them and their cameras there. The two of them said in an article from a magazine that is no longer online that they wanted the day to be all about them, love, and a promise to be together forever. The place wasn't chosen at chance either. It was a nod to the fact that her family is from southern Italy. Their private party was like something out of a dream, with beautiful views and delicious food. What did everyone back home think when they left to get married? Who knows? That's up to everyone. But following the rules was never a part of their love story. And right away, if their promises were meant to last, they were put to the test. She made a lot of progress in her work when Fox News hired her as a contributor and law analyst in 2018. This was only a year after they got married. She became a co-host on The Five sometimes and appeared on shows like Gutfeld, and talked about how she saw the law problems that were making the news. Then in March 2020, she got her own show on Fox Nation called Crimes That Changed America. The first season aired and was about cases that changed the world. By January 2021, she had a much bigger job lined up. She would co-host Outnumbered with Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany. Once she was seated, she made one thing clear. When she thought about everything she had done, from law to cheering to TV, there was one thing that tied them all together. They were all about pursuing a love while taking advantage of a chance. That way of thinking had helped her in the past, like when she became a fan for the Oakland Raiders while she was working as a criminal defense lawyer. At the time, she worked for a company that took on high-profile cases and had a lot of former professional players and coaches as lawyers. She did well in both fields, managing the duties of law and professional sports with ease. Because of that experience, even better chances came up. As an NFL ambassador, she went on TV shows, which increased her public profile. Because of those contacts, she was able to get the job as a law analyst on the most popular conservative news network in the United States. Even though her job was going through the roof, not everyone liked what she said on TV. What Emily Compagno did in December 2021 was so crazy that it made her Fox News co-workers speechless. When the Outnumbered co-host praised the fact that it caused a lot of trouble. Vishal Garg, CEO of Com, fired more than 900 workers because of Zoom. That's 15% of his Indian and American staff. Lisa Kennedy Montgomery didn't hold back when she said the casual approach was lacking in class and that Garg probably wasn't easy to work for. Compagno's response, on the other hand, was incredibly excited, almost making her miss cheering. She made it clear that she agreed with the cutbacks and thought they were totally fair. According to the Daily Beast, she made her case even stronger by saying that those 900 workers only worked 2 hours a day even though they were paid for 8. She thought that they were taking from the business and that Garg was just being fair. She loved that he stayed safe while firing them and made it clear that their theft would not be allowed anymore. She thought it was a good way to go. She didn't stop there either. She then called the people who were fired snowflakes who didn't do their jobs, and she made sure her Gutfeld heard it. Friends of hers know that she agreed with the choice. As you might guess, a lot of people didn't like how she didn't show care, and she got a lot of pushback. But that wasn't the only time she made people angry. During a Gutfeld talk about women's rights in the U.S., she said something that hurt the feelings of a whole country. She said that pregnant women in Kenya were not allowed to leave their homes, which meant they did not really have the right to vote. African news outlets quickly came forward to correct the record. Stephen Lutter of Kenyans, Kay pointed out that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says that pregnant women, the old, and people with disabilities get extra help when they vote. They don't have to wait in line like other people do. As a result, many Kenyans asked Compagno to apologize, but she has still not done so. It's funny that early in her work she seemed to have a strong link to Africa, but because of the reaction she probably wouldn't get a warm welcome in Kenya today. When was the last time Emily Compagno was in the news? Not so fast. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave a controversial interview to GQ in 2022. In it she talked about how her time in politics had shown her how much people in America hate women whether they are aware of it or not. As expected, a lot of the standard Fox News speakers like Sean Hannity and Senator Marsha Blackburn didn't wait to respond on Twitter. But Emily Compagno didn't just yell at Ocasio-Cortez on social media. She went on national TV and made it clear she didn't like her. She seemed especially mad that the representative, who is 32 years old, was acting like she knew a lot about the country. Compagno said that it was silly for a youth to make such broad assumptions. She also didn't agree with Ocasio-Cortez when she said that America would never pick a female president because people hate women so much. She called that naive. Compagno said that Ocasio-Cortez shouldn't be complaining but should be praising the accomplishments of women like Mayra Flores and Winona Sears, who have a different political view. She thought that if Ocasio-Cortez really wanted to help women, she should be proud of everyone's success, not just her own possible future one. Compagno has never been afraid to say what she thinks about politics. She probably won't ever go to a Black Lives Matter rally, that much is clear. During an episode of Outnumbered in 2022, she asked about the group's tax position and said it was only a matter of time before the IRS started looking into its leaders. Reports said that funds meant for the cause had gone to family members of Petrus Cullors, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. This is what she said in response. Compagno said that a bigger probe was going to be sent out soon, but she didn't stop there. She also said that BLM didn't care about major crime figures. For example, she said that 8 out of 10 homicide victims in Chicago that year were young black men, but she hadn't heard anything from the national group about that. In the same year, she had harsh words for Beto O'Rourke on Outnumbered when he stopped Texas Governor Greg Abbott's press conference after the Uvalde school killing. She didn't hold back when she called O'Rourke a performative clown and a complete joke. She also said he wasn't worth airtime and even called him a waste of flesh. O'Rourke had argued with Abbott about gun control, saying that prayers and thoughts weren't enough anymore and that real action was needed. Compagno wouldn't have it though. She agreed with what the mayor of Uvalde said when he told O'Rourke he was wrong and accused him of using the event for political gain. Compagno doesn't just say bad things about politics, she's also said bad things about Hollywood. In 2022, Leonardo DiCaprio got in trouble for both the way he dated and what many saw as his lack of concern for the earth. The star was seen on a luxury superyacht while campaigning for climate change, which caused a discussion about his own carbon footprint. Compagno was one of the most vocal, calling attention to what she saw as a clear contradiction. She showed Outnumbered watchers a picture of DiCaprio relaxing on his $150 million boat near St. Bart's and broke down the numbers for them. For example, she said that the yacht burned as much carbon in 7 miles as the average car does in a year. She also said that it cost almost $3,000 to fill. She changed the subject and talked to former GOP Congressman Jason Chaffetz. Chaffetz was more interested in DiCaprio's chest hair than in how he affected the environment. Also, Compagno doesn't like President Joe Biden, which is not a secret. She questioned his health for a second term on Outnumbered, pointing out that he would be 86 years old by the end of the show. She said that if his policies worked, people would probably forget about his mistakes and falls, but she thought that the policies of his government were not working and that Americans were having a hard time. His mistakes in public only made people more worried about how he is leading. She said that it was getting harder and harder to ignore what she saw as clear signs that he wasn't fit to be in office by comparing it to the emperor's new clothes. This wasn't the first time Compagno spoke out against Biden. He said that he'd put the opinions of famous people ahead of the worries of regular voters in the past. But her criticism was not just about politics. She set her sights on Whoopi Goldberg at the beginning of 2022 after the actor said some terrible things about the Holocaust on The View. Goldberg said sorry, but Compagno was not happy with the answer or lack of it. She brought up how quickly other people in the business were punished, like Gina Carano, who was fired by Disney for making comments about the Holocaust, and Sharon Osbourne, who was investigated by CBS after making those comments. Compagno said that Hollywood had different rules for people of different political views. Even though the fight was bigger, Goldberg didn't answer Compagno's complaint. By February 2023, Fox News had announced that Compagno would be hosting the Fox True Crime Show on Fox News Radio. This would give her even more responsibilities at the network. Even though she is getting more and more attention from the public, she has kept her personal very quiet. We still don't know much about her friendship with Pete Riley. Compagno and Riley are both from the West Coast. In 2018, Compagno went to New York City for work at Fox News, but it wasn't clear if Riley moved with her. People kept guessing because she hadn't talked about him on social media and there wasn't a wedding ring to be seen. Then in 2024, Compagno finally gave an update that everyone had been waiting for. She was engaged and getting ready to get married during an interview on Fox Business. This news revealed that the legal analyst may have moved on from her wedding in Italy before. People rarely see the other side of Emily Compagno, the person who gets angry over pop. She isn't going to waste the chance she has to make a change because she knows it. She thinks about the people watching every time she talks on Fox, making sure they don't waste their time. At the very least, she wants them to feel like they learned something or were moved, or that they had a fun moment that made their day a little better. Because of this, she lives by a simple motto: teach, inform, inspire, and entertain. Getting the word out about the causes she works with is one of the main ways she does that. She doesn't just support a cause once in a while, she really cares about them, especially when it comes to helping animals and soldiers. K9 Hurricanes Heroes, Positive Change, Dogs for Our Brave, and U.S. Vets are some of her favorite groups. She has always wanted to help people, not just when she was on TV. It goes back a long time before cameras and soft lights. She was making a change in real. She even went all the way across Africa to help people in need. She helped serve food with God's Katrina Kitchen after Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. Even a year after the storm, she stayed there and made sure that survivors got 3 meals a day right from the sand. She did this to help people who had lost everything. Making a difference isn't just a hobby for Compagno, it's what she does for a living.